There was a time when fast food wasn't just quick, it was exciting. Every trip to McDonald's, Burger King, or Taco Bell brought the possibility of trying something brand new. Some of these creations became legends, while others quietly disappeared, tucked away in the dusty corners of memory. Asterisk. Today, we're opening up that time capsule to look back at 25 retro fast food items that vanished from menus. Some were bold experiments, some were beloved fan favorites, and some probably should have never existed at all. Asterisk. But together, they tell the story of an America that was always hungry for the next big thing. From giant pizzas the size of your table, to salads you shook up in a cup, to a burger that tried to stay hot on one side and cold on the other, these are the foods we remember, and the ones we'll never taste again. Asterisk. Let's start with one of McDonald's strangest and most over-engineered ideas ever. Asterisk. 1. McDonald's MCDLT, 1984 to 1991. Hot stays hot, and cool stays cool. Asterisk. That was the promise behind one of McDonald's most ambitious creations of the 1980s, the MCDLT. At first glance, it looked like just another burger. But what made it different wasn't the sandwich itself, it was the packaging. The MCDLT came in a massive styrofoam container, split into two compartments. On one side, the beef patty and bottom bun kept piping hot. On the other, the lettuce, tomato, cheese, pickles, and top bun kept cool and crisp. Customers were supposed to assemble the burger themselves, combining the two halves right before eating. In the mid-80s, this felt futuristic. McDonald's even ran flashy commercials, one famously starring a young Jason Alexander years before Seinfeld, showing off the idea that you could control your burger experience. And for a while, it worked. People loved the freshness of the toppings and the novelty of putting it together themselves. But as clever as it seemed, the MCDLT had a fatal flaw. That giant styrofoam container was wasteful at a time when America was waking up to environmental issues. By the early 90s, McDonald's faced growing backlash over packaging, and the MCDLT was quietly pulled from menus. For many, it wasn't just the burger that vanished, it was the end of an era when fast food chains weren't afraid to try strange, over-the-top ideas. And if you thought keeping lettuce cold in one box and beef hot in another was strange, wait until you see what Burger King once passed off as a sandwich. Asterisk. 2. Burger King's Jumbo Sandwich, 1974 to 1979, briefly revived. At Burger King, you expected burgers, fries, and maybe a milkshake. But in the mid-1970s, something unusual appeared on the menu, a hot ham and cheese sandwich called the Jumbo. Asterisk. The Jumbo was a departure from Burger King's identity. Instead of flame-grilled beef, it offered thin slices of deli-style ham, melted American cheese, and lettuce, all tucked into a simple sesame seed bun. To fast food customers used to hamburgers and chicken, it seemed a little out of place. When it debuted in 1974, Burger King marketed the Jumbo as a lighter alternative to burgers. Families liked it, especially parents who wanted something other than beef. It even earned a quirky reputation as the other Burger King sandwich, not flashy, but memorable in its own way. But within just a few years, the Jumbo quietly disappeared. Some say it was because it never quite fit in with the brand's flame-broiled image. Others think customers simply weren't interested in buying a ham and cheese when they could get the Whopper instead. Then, decades later, in 2014, Burger King suddenly brought it back for a limited run. For older fans, it was a wave of nostalgia. For younger customers, it was a curiosity, a sandwich from another time. But the revival didn't last, and today the Jumbo has once again faded into history. For many, though, it remains a reminder of when fast food chains weren't afraid to take risks, even if the idea didn't quite stick. And if a hot ham and cheese seemed unusual, just wait until we revisit Pizza Hut's bold attempt to reinvent the entire pizza itself. Asterisk. 3. Pizza Hut's Priazzo Pizza, 1985 to 1993. In the 1980s, Pizza Hut was everywhere, and it wasn't just about pizza by the slice. It was about sitting down with your family in a red-roofed restaurant and trying something new. And few menu items captured that moment better than the Priazzo. Asterisk. The Priazzo wasn't your average pizza. Pizza Hut described it as an Italian pie, somewhere between a deep dish pizza and a lasagna. It had a thick bottom crust, layers of cheese, meats, vegetables, and sauce, and then another crust baked right on top. Some versions were so packed that they took nearly 40 minutes to prepare. This was Pizza Hut at its most ambitious. Ads from the time painted the Priazzo as a taste of authentic Italy, rich, indulgent, and far more filling than a regular pizza. Families ordered it for special nights out, when waiting a little longer felt worth it. For many kids in the 80s, the Priazzo was the biggest, cheesiest pizza they had ever seen. But in practice, the Priazzo was a challenge. It took too long to cook, it was expensive, and it didn't work well for delivery or carryout. Fast food was about speed, and the Priazzo was anything but fast. By the early 1990s, Pizza Hut quietly removed it from menus. Yet to this day, longtime fans still talk about it in online forums, trading memories and even home recipes in hopes of recreating the taste. For those who remember, the Priazzo wasn't just food, it was an experience, one that symbolized a time when Pizza Hut was at the center of American family life. And while Pizza Hut was trying to make pizza bigger and bolder, Taco Bell was cooking up something very different, a burger that wasn't really a burger at all. Asterisk. For Taco Bell's Bell Beefer, 1970s, 1990s. Before Taco Bell became the land of tacos, burritos, and Doritos Locos Shells, there was a time when they wanted to compete with America's most popular fast food item, the hamburger. Their answer? The Bell Beefer. Asterisk. Launched in the 1970s, the Bell Beefer was essentially a sloppy Joe with a Taco Bell twist. It was made with the chain's signature seasoned ground beef, topped with lettuce, diced onions, and a dollop of mild taco sauce, all served inside a soft hamburger bun. No tortilla, no taco shell, just beef on bread. For families who wanted something familiar, the Bell Beefer was perfect. Not everyone in the 70s was ready for tacos or burritos, and the burger-like format gave cautious diners a way to try Taco Bell without straying too far from the familiar. Kids especially loved it, messy, flavorful, and a little different from anything else at the time. For years, the Bell Beefer stuck around as a staple, even surviving into the 1990s. But as Taco Bell leaned harder into its identity as the place for Mexican-inspired fast food, the sandwich-style items started to feel out of place. Sales declined, and the Bell Beefer was quietly retired. Still, for those who grew up with it, the Bell Beefer holds a special kind of nostalgia. Fans have spent decades calling for its return, and some even attempt homemade versions using Taco Bell seasoning packets and plain hamburger buns. It's remembered as a quirky experiment, half burger, half taco, that showed Taco Bell was willing to think outside the bun long before that became their official slogan. And while Taco Bell was blending burgers with tacos, McDonald's was about to aim higher, with a burger they thought would redefine fast food sophistication. Asterisk. 5. McDonald's Arch Deluxe, 1996 to 2000. For decades, McDonald's had been the go-to spot for kids and families. But in the mid-1990s, the Golden Arches wanted something more. They wanted to be sophisticated. Their answer was a burger unlike anything they'd ever sold before, the Arch Deluxe. Asterisk. Launched in 1996, the Arch Deluxe was marketed as the burger with the grown-up taste. Instead of the standard ketchup and mustard, it featured peppered bacon, leaf lettuce, tomato, cheese, onions, and a special Dijon mustard mayonnaise sauce. It was served on a potato flour bun and positioned as a premium option for adults who had outgrown Happy Meals. McDonald's poured an estimated $150 million into advertising, one of the largest fast food campaigns in history. Commercials showed kids turning up their noses at the Arch Deluxe, while adults savored it, driving home the message that this was not a kid's burger. For a brief moment, it felt like McDonald's might pull it off. But the Arch Deluxe never caught on. Customers weren't looking to McDonald's for sophistication. They wanted familiarity, affordability, and speed, not a gourmet-style burger at a family restaurant. The Arch Deluxe quietly vanished by the early 2000s, remembered more for its marketing misfire than its flavor. Yet for many who tried it, the Arch Deluxe left a mark. Some still remember its tangy sauce and potato bun with fondness, and its failure serves as a reminder of a unique moment in fast food history when McDonald's tried to grow up, but its customers weren't ready to follow. And while McDonald's was spending millions trying to be upscale, Wendy's was winning hearts with something much simpler, an all-you-can-eat buffet. Asterisk. 6. Wendy's Super Bar, 1980s-1998. Today, Wendy's is known for its square burgers and Frosties. But in the 1980s and 90s, there was something waiting inside many Wendy's restaurants that you'd never expect from a fast food chain, an all-you-can-eat buffet called the Super Bar. Asterisk. Introduced in the late 1980s, the Super Bar was divided into three sections: the garden spot for salads, the Mexican fiesta for tacos and nachos, and the pasta bar for spaghetti, macaroni, and Alfredo. For just a few dollars, customers could load their plates as high as they wanted and keep going back for more. It was a hit with families. Parents loved the affordability, kids loved the freedom, and for teenagers, the Super Bar became a hangout spot where you could stretch a meal into hours. The setup was unusual for fast food, blending the convenience of a drive-through brand with the sit-down comfort of a family buffet. But behind the scenes, the Super Bar was a nightmare for employees. It required constant cleaning, refilling, and monitoring, all in restaurants designed for speed, not table service. Food waste was high, costs were difficult to control, and sanitation was always a challenge. By the late 1990s, Wendy's quietly phased it out. Still, the Super Bar remains one of the most beloved lost fast food experiences. For many, it represents a time when dining out felt more communal, when a simple trip to Wendy's meant sitting down with family or friends and making your own meal. In today's grab-and-go world, the Super Bar feels almost unthinkable, but for those who remember, it was magical. And while Wendy's was offering endless pasta and tacos, KFC was quietly perfecting a side dish that would become a fan favorite for decades, before suddenly taking it away. Asterisk. 7. KFC's Potato Wedges, 1980s to 2020. For over 3 decades, no trip to Kentucky Fried Chicken felt complete without one simple side dish. It wasn't mashed potatoes or biscuits, it was those thick, golden brown potato wedges. Asterisk. Introduced in the 1980s, KFC's potato wedges were unlike anything you could get at other fast food chains. Instead of thin shoestring fries, these were hearty, seasoned wedges, crispy on the outside, soft and fluffy on the inside. They paired perfectly with fried chicken, and for many customers, they became just as iconic as the chicken itself. What made them special was the seasoning, a blend of salt, pepper, paprika, and other spices that gave the wedges a kick without being overwhelming. They were comfort food with character, a side that felt homemade compared to the generic fries found elsewhere. Generations of families grew up with them. Kids dipped them into gravy or honey mustard, while adults saw them as a filling upgrade from regular fries. For over 30 years, they were part of the KFC identity. Then, in 2020, fans were stunned when KFC announced they were replacing wedges with standard French fries nationwide. The reasoning was simple: fries were faster, easier, and more consistent. But for loyal customers, it felt like a betrayal. Social media lit up with outrage, with many declaring that KFC had lost part of its soul. Even today, years later, people still post petitions, tweets, and nostalgic memories begging for their return. Potato wedges weren't just a side dish, they were a symbol of what made KFC unique in the fast food world. And while KFC's wedges were disappearing, Burger King was serving up something sweet: tiny cinnamon rolls that made breakfast feel like dessert. Asterisk. 8. Burger King's Cheeny Minis, 1990s, 2000s. If you grew up in the 1990s, breakfast at Burger King meant one thing: a warm little box of Cheeny Minis. Asterisk. Introduced in the mid-1990s, Cheeny Minis were Burger King's bite-sized cinnamon rolls, baked fresh and served hot in a small cardboard tray. They came with a packet of sweet icing that you could drizzle, or if you were a kid, pour the entire thing over the top. The smell alone was enough to make car rides in the morning feel special. For many, Cheeny Minis weren't just breakfast. They were a treat, a reward, and in some cases, even dessert after lunch. Commercials in the 90s marketed them directly to kids, showing gooey, frosting dripping cinnamon swirls that looked irresistible. Parents liked them too. They were cheap, easy, and felt just a little indulgent compared to the usual egg sandwiches. But as Burger King restructured its breakfast menu in the 2000s, Cheeny Minis quietly disappeared. Other items took their place, but nothing carried the same nostalgic magic. For years, fans begged for them to return. In 2018, Burger King briefly brought them back after an online petition gained traction, proving just how beloved they remained. Even though they vanished again, the memory of Cheeny Minis lives on in the minds of anyone who grew up with them. For many millennials, they're a symbol of Saturday morning errands with parents, before school stops, or just the joy of tearing open that little icing packet. Simple, sweet, and perfectly retro. And while Burger King was sweetening mornings, McDonald's was making headlines with a dessert of its own, one that was once fried, crispy, and almost dangerously hot. Asterisk. 9. McDonald's Fried Apple Pie, 1968 to 1992 in the U.S. Long before McFlurries and seasonal treats, there was one McDonald's dessert that stood above the rest. It was hot, crispy, and so beloved that many still call it the best thing McDonald's ever made: the fried apple pie. Asterisk. Introduced in 1968, the fried apple pie was one of McDonald's very first desserts. Each one came in a small cardboard sleeve, fresh from the fryer, with a flaky golden crust that broke open to reveal bubbling hot apple filling inside. The pies were simple, inexpensive, and instantly addictive. For decades, they were part of the McDonald's identity. Families would finish off a meal with one, kids would beg for them on car rides, and commercials advertised them as the perfect sweet ending to a burger and fries. There was even a rotation of flavors: cherry, peach, and pumpkin, that made the pies feel exciting and seasonal. But in the early 1990s, everything changed. Concerns about health and safety. 10. Taco Bell's Volcano Menu, 1995, revived 2009 to 2013. In the world of fast food, bold flavors can make or break a menu. And in the mid-1990s, Taco Bell introduced one of its most daring experiments ever: the Volcano Menu. Asterisk. First launched in 1995, the Volcano Menu featured tacos, burritos, nachos, and even a volcano taco with a bright red shell, all loaded with the now famous lava sauce. This sauce was creamy, spicy, and unlike anything else on Taco Bell's menu at the time. It became the star of the show, the kind of flavor that stuck with you long after the meal was over. For adventurous eaters, it was love at first bite. Commercials hyped the menu as fiery and extreme, playing perfectly into the 1990s obsession with intense foods. Teenagers and young adults embraced it as the edgy choice, the meal that dared you to go hotter. Even in the age of Surge Soda and Flamin' Hot Cheetos, Taco Bell's volcano menu stood out. But like so many bold experiments, it didn't last. The menu disappeared by the late 1990s, only to be revived again in 2009 after fans clamored for its return. For a few more years, customers could get their fix of lava sauce, but by 2013, the volcano menu was retired once again. Its disappearance left a cult following of loyal fans, many of whom still begged Taco Bell to bring it back. Petitions circulate online, and every time the chain teases a new spicy item, the first question is always the same, asterisk, is lava sauce coming back? Asterisk. For those who remember, the volcano menu wasn't just about heat, it was about a time when fast food felt daring, colorful, and just a little rebellious. And while Taco Bell was setting mouths on fire, Pizza Hut was busy making pizzas so large, they barely fit on the table. Asterisk.